The following is a special presentation of XCW.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to XCW Inception. My name is Jaxsin Law, alongside
I'm Festus Davis, and we're happy to have you back for this looking at the rain show.
the reception to the Inception.
Yeah.
And we said it last show, we talked about how this one was going to be a barn burner, talking about how last show you had Chris Jones versus Cynical in the opening match, whereas tonight they are going to be our main event for the Power Championship. And speaking of the Power Championship, we would actually get to see the debut of a brand new Power Championship.
Yeah, actually.
Alongside of Cyrus and DTC, whereas, last show DTC was in the main event, wrestling Kurt Acid. He's now wrestling Cyrus, as Fletch said. Kurt Acid was unavailable for the Reign show, which threw a damper on things, but DTC still came out there and got his match in, and well, we got to see a debut on this show as well.
Yes, we did. The beginning of a very storied, long XCW career for Psychor.
Despite the rain kind of ruining the video and audio quality for a majority of the show, making it hard to hear what little bit of commentary we did get. Obviously, we'll ask Fletch about how that played out later in the night when we get to the Fletch's question time.
As I said, a monsoon coming through, and they
without the gorillas
worked a serviceable show for what it was.
Okay, I'm wrong. The camera was in the gorilla position. But I'm going to go ahead and ask you, normally we do it, what do you think is going to be the match of the night versus towards the end we'll actually discuss what we figure the match of the night is after we get through the discussions and evaluations?
Well, if I were, just going on the website, just looking at, before we actually watched, which I've watched the Reign show before because it's curiosity, but like I was looking, if I was just to look at this very short card, I sound like broken records, but it's Jones and Cynical. I mean, that would be my guess. Looking at this card, I'd just be like, okay, that's going to be something.
Well,
because they've been something.
They had a banger the show before, so it would make
exactly.
sense that they come out and have another one.
It would. Like I said, broken record, but.
I know from experience, not every match in a series is going to be good.
Not every match is going to be good, and
me and Fletch
and sometimes two greats sometimes don't have that chemistry. But
me and Fletch have had a series of matches, and the first one we had together was great. A tag match we did, we worked well together, and then we go into the one-on-one match, and it was just the drizzling shits. But not everything can be great. Obviously, the weather in this show wasn't great. Which brings us to why this was a shorter card. There was less people involved in it because it was a rain show. People didn't want to wrestle in the rain. This, that. They had circumstances where they were grounded, whatever it may have been. But that still didn't take away from what we got on this 3-match card with a segment in between.
I said it for what it was, for a show on a trampoline in the pouring rain, they really did put together, not a bad short show.
Now, me looking at the card, obviously, you said Cynical and Jones. I'm not going to pick the same match as you, just because I didn't get to see the first Cynical and Jones match. I've actually got to look at it as Cyrus and DTC, just because I know, even though DTC doesn't like to necessarily work to the best of everybody else's ability, he kind of works to his own ability. I know what DTC's capable of, especially against someone that's more cruiserweighty style.
Yeah,
he can go out there and he can do the middleweight, cruiserweight stuff.
Yep.
And that's something that I personally look forward to on the smaller shows. It's the break from the real wrestling, and you get your spot fest. So I think that's going to be, in my opinion, the match of the night before our evaluations. Which, speaking of the evaluations, those are coming up next, right after this short commercial break.
Almost anywhere I went, I pretended to be unaffected by the stupid people questioning me. But in reality, I did it all intentionally. It made you think I give in to the pressure and leave. It made you think I give in to depression and bleed. I make an enemy of anybody threatening me, and I'm the one who determines who I am destined to be. When did I fall down? Can't look at you now. Now you're falling down. And when it hits the ground, can't look at you now. Now you're never right. This is my legacy. Life or death to me. It's like the air I breathe, and you can suffocate me now. You can't burn my empire, but you still try. No. You can play God, but you can't kill my legacy. It's life or death to me. You said that I'd be nothing. How does it feel that I sucked on? You can't kill me no matter how hard you try. So turn around if you want to get out alive. You said I'd never make it, but look at me now. Set the fuck down. You can't stop me, you've already had to try. Now get it back in the line. Right now. You'll never break me down. You'll never break me. This is my legacy. Life or death to me. It's like the air I breathe, and you can suffocate me now. You can't burn my empire, but you still try. No. You can play God, but you can't kill my legacy. It's life or death to me.
Welcome back to Inception, and now we're going to go in deeper dive into all three of these matches with evaluating how they were as a match. And the first match, our Psycor debut versus MILF Hunter.
I have one note for this match. I have one note.
I unfortunately, I looked, I was like, oh crap, I didn't actually make any notes for this, but I do, once again, short show, so I kind of remember, and once you start going on your bits, I'll be like, oh yeah, we talked about that.
My one note is, Psycor won in the quickest match ever. I'm pretty sure he just went out there and hit like 2 moves and was done.
It was quick.
I remember seeing a splash.
It was
of the
definitely
ring but it was also pouring.
We both were like, one, was it quick because of the the reign? Was it quick because we wanted to establish Psychor as, kind of this killer, just go out there and,
It was quick and wet.
boom. And,
It was quick and wet like some people's moms. But we're not going to get into that. I had this rated at like a half star. It wasn't long enough to get a rating for
I was about to say, I think, like I said, I unfortunately made no notes for this thing. But thinking back on it, 1 star for me. And it probably would warrant a half star for me, and it probably gets another half star just for the historic nature of it.
And that's fair.
With it being Psychor's debut.
I mean, Psychor was on the outs as I was coming in, so I mean, I've obviously met Psychor and interacted with him. He's a really cool dude.
I
wish I'd have gotten that one-on-one with him, but someone I did get a one-on-one with was DTC, and in the next matchup we saw Cyrus taking on DTC. DTC taking a break from the main event story that he was telling with Kurt Acid before Over the Edge to face Cyrus in a more cruiserweight style match, really showcasing what DTC can do on the cruiserweight side of things versus where Kurt Acid is the more technical wrestler. This definitely goes to show that their match at Over the Edge is going to be a very dynamic clash of styles.
Clash of styles, yes, most definitely.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Puns.
Anyway.
But, it was very, very cruiserweight style match. Showed what that flippy floppy style that DTC loves to incorporate with his offense. It definitely showcased that. I honestly, though, even though it wasn't as short a match, I have very few, like I said, I didn't make any notes, but there's just nothing that really stuck from this match in my head. It's like it was just their match.
As I say, it wasn't one to
not bad, not good.
It wasn't one to
there.
What I do remember from this show, other than that match getting a 1.5 star from me, was that Fletch stripped the tag team championships off of their holders. I'm spacing on who it was, and actually fires somebody on camera, which we're going to ask later how shoot that really was and how pissed he was to do that on camera. Because usually the firing...
One of our questions that we were, as we're watching, we're like, oh, we got asked about this.
Well, I mean, normally when you see firings and stuff on camera, they're typically shoot.
Totally,
They're like shoot works.
It's definitely work, and possibly the guy's going, is leaving the company for something. But it seemed to be a
bit shooty.
More on the shoot side.
Not very much of the 2004 good guy that we know and love now. But Fletch did unveil the new Power Championship, giving it over to its champion Cynical, who we saw take a bump for no reason after he got handed the belt. I said he was goofy for it. To go back to the Cyrus DTC match, what was your star rating for that one? Because I didn't get to ask you that.
Shoot, actually, I think I just got that at a half star.
Half star. That's fair. I had it at 1.5. Flippy doodah. I thought it made DTC look like a star. Which going into his world title match at Over the Edge with Kurt Acid, it makes sense for him to be the one looking more prominent in that match.
Yeah, definitely.
DTC hitting some cool flippy stuff and getting a quick win. Then we got the main event, which wasn't a quick win in any capacity. I yelled "Take it home" a lot at the screen. In fact, it's like written in bold.
We both did.
It's written in bold and uppercase with exclamation points. Take it home. In the Power Championship match between Cynical and Jones, which was no disqualification. I'm not sure if it was an actual stipulation or if it was just no DQ for no DQ's sake. But the weapons were already in the ring when they got there. I had it written down as those two were actually killing each other in the beginning of the match. It didn't start.
they were swinging.
It didn't really start feeling less of a match and more of just, okay, we're out here to just be out here for as long as we want to be towards the midway point. There was obviously not a lot of flow to it overall as a match, which is something that you can account to the lack of knowledge.
I think I would chalk it up to a lot of, the conditions.
Let's go play in the rain.
And the trampoline.
I would have backed out of doing the show. I would not have wrestled on a trampoline in the rain. I barely want to wrestle on a trampoline in general, let alone wrestle in the rain in general, let alone put the two together and make a death trap. And I've wrestled in broken rings, so those still feel less of a death trap.
Lot of that, I think a lot of the detriment to this match was the weather. The trampoline itself, I think,
it felt way too all over the place.
Yeah, it just took something. And, all these trampoline shows, I watch them with a cringe.
Yeah.
With a going, I don't like trampoline wrestling, but I like these guys, and I know these guys.
There was a...
I have to watch it with a certain, blinders kind of put on of my dislike of trampoline wrestling.
And that's
but
the
a lot of times
reporter,
that's the explanation for why
it's so shit.
Yeah.
There was one spot in particular of Chris Jones's selling that I really loved, and it's him doing the most dumb Kurt Acid style sell that we talked about in the last show, where Kurt Acid was doing the Shawn Michaels style selling. He gets up off of a move, and you see him have the milk jug in his hand, and he sets the milk jug down right as he bumps face first into the milk jug. And I can't imagine that felt good even on a trampoline, because that's just a face full of plastic.
Yeah.
And that again ties into the cool spots, but not really having a flow to the spots. It was just spot after spot after spot after spot after spot for spot's sake. And while that is cool and all, you got that earlier with the cruiserweight match. We didn't need two of that when this was the main event for a title. In my opinion, it could have had a little bit more flow to it, but then again, that's the 2023, 2024 blinders on me. Knowing what wrestling is now.
Yeah, knowing where this all goes, look at it through that time period. And it's
match went 17 minutes, but felt like 7 years to me. Jones walking out as the new power champion, which was rightfully deserved. I feel like even though Jones had only debuted singles-wise the show prior, it really showed from that match being as good as it was, and him coming into this as strongly as he did. It showed that that Fletch as the booker was putting faith into the new guys.
Yeah, he's like, look at this guy, he's a big deal.
Yeah, and really,
and
if
you watch, you
see why.
Be hard pressed to go, oh no. It's like,
The only thing really, other than the length of the show of the match for me, that kind of killed it was towards the end. Everybody was no selling everything. One would hit one in the balls, and they would just stand there and look at him like, what are you going to do next? And while certain characters can get away with that, like we mentioned last time, Eternal Darkness and Lucifer can get away with that because that's their...
can get away with that.
That's their, brush it off and keep going because I'm big, bad, evil. Jones and Cynical aren't the ones that can get away with that. And that was what kind of really killed it for me. Other than... I got a question for Fletch about this match later because he was the referee in it. But the other thing that killed it for me is I never thought I'd watch an XCW match and get a porno in half of it. Chris Jones' ass just out on camera. He's got a dump truck too at that point. Like, he's got a dumpy.
I really wasn't paying attention to that, but
I wasn't either. It was just there.
It's there, yeah. You really can't ignore it.
Crack kills, smoke weed instead.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I heard that quote on this show too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there. It did seem very long.
We're not talking about Jones's ass. His ass wasn't long.
Yeah, not Jones's ass. The match. You know, but because I remember you saying this feels like it's been 30 minutes, and I don't have that internal clock like some guys, but I was like, man, I don't think it's that long. So like with I went to YouTube because we're watching the DVDs, and I was like, it was like 18 minutes. And it's like it felt like twice that. And I was like, it kind of did, especially at Dread by the end. Like you said, the no sell, it just did.
Well, and I guess
it wasn't up to a cynical Chris Jones standard match, in my opinion.
I guess that ties into why my rating of this match was so low.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a 1 star.
I would have said a 2, and
I feel like the rain kind of really inhibited what could have been done in this show. But I guess that's also something we have to ask Fletch about when we come back from this commercial break, and we do another segment of Fletch's Question Time, and we put the boss man in the hot seat. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to XCW Inception. We are back with the boss. The boss is back in black and
purple and green and white
and red.
I don't match at all.
You know what else didn't match? How this show didn't match the structure of the last show.
Sure it did.
This show for me didn't have the.
You're starting with a debut and you're ending with a title match.
This May 7th, 2004 show, in my opinion, had a way better structure to it and felt more like a show than just, hey, let's go have fun.
Well, a lot of what happened with this show in terms of structure and stuff like that is the weather. Mm-hmm. I think we even we had more guys that were available and were there prior to starting, but a lot of those guys, you know, I left it up to them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we all got there, we got together, here come the rain. I left it up to the performers on if they chose to go forth with their matches or if they would like to bow out of the show. And, you know, like Dylan Bostic didn't live close to Shelbyville. He had to travel to each event, and that played into, you know, him not being a part of this episode. You know, Kurt Acid, you know, had to ride a bike in the rain. There's different things that played into why this show wasn't structured as well and why the match card was so limited. The people who were a part of this were the ones that ultimately decided that they wanted to participate in this card. So, you know, we kind of had to go based off of that.
How'd you protect the camera from the rain?
So if you watch from May 7th episode, we came through the back door as our entrance. Obviously for this one, we came around the garage area for our entrance. And doing so, we put the camera indoors so that we could get the shot that we wanted. Even when the rain was blowing, there's an awning as soon as you walk out of the house.
Yeah.
So that was our way of protecting our camera. And then obviously, like, me cutting the promo that I cut inside to conserve that camera. And we still had issues with the camera. For some reason, if you watch the first match, it's blurry.
Oh gosh.
And part of that is the difference in temperature,
humidity,
and all those things kind of played into it. And then of course, you know, sound quality was up and down throughout the show because you're shooting outdoors, so all the sound is, you know, not hitting the camera mics and stuff the same way because it's not with the action. It's inside. It's separate from what was going on. So yeah, I mean, there were issues with this show, and we just kind of rolled with the punch so that we could get the content out. And you know, we really wanted to get the Chris Jones and Cynical match done. So,
and it was really the only match that continued the story from the last show. Obviously, DTC and Cyrus, you know, it made DTC look good going into his match, but it wasn't a story-built match, whereas
a lot of
was.
Well, like, okay, so the original plan for this show was to feature Kurt Acid and DTC in a grudge match to kind of set up for them going to Over the Edge. So, in doing so, not having Kurt Acid available kind of put a damper on using DTC in that. And if you guys know anything about my booking, anything about any situation, the first person that I'm going to put out in any show is myself. I was originally supposed to wrestle Cyrus to kind of plant the seeds of, you know, Cyrus was firmly in the position of, you know, European title. Like, that was his shtick. That's where he was. And ultimately the goal was to get the European title to myself so I could retire the title. So me being with Cyrus would have made sense in this to try to get me into that division so that I could compete for the European Championship and ultimately retire the title. So that was the original goal. DTC, Kurt Acid, myself, and Cyrus, Psychor's debut, and ultimately the main event for the Power title.
Was Psychor's match supposed to be the ultimate squash?
Yes. I think we were in a transitioning point character-wise. MILF Hunter is gonna not be long for this world. We knew that once, you know, we got through the month that he was actively in the military at the time. We knew that he was going overseas for a tour, and we knew that we weren't going to have MILF Hunter with us for much longer. So as you'll see in this show, and obviously in the next show as well, you'll see where things start to kind of drop off for MILF Hunter and not really, you know, be seen much. We would have one of the Wednesday shows would eventually see him drop the title, set up for myself and Biohazard as the match for the European title. Which was another plan for this show is to get that title off of him. The original plan was for Psychor to wrestle Lucifer, which you'll see in the May 21st episode. That's exactly what happened. They would end up having their singles match there rather than here. So there were different things and different reasons why things went the way they did. Ultimately, had it went the original way, it would have made more sense for what was to come later on.
Okay.
Shoot, I just you're talking about morale. Like, how was it on that day?
I think a lot of people looked at it as a setback when we're trying to kind of tell a story. And when you're trying to tell a story without promos and stuff like that, and you're telling it all in the ring, I feel like had things gone the way that they were supposed to, we would have done a pretty good job of telling our story just in the ring without promos.
Yeah.
So I think everybody took this as a setback, but I think the ultimate goal was, no matter what, let's get Cynical and Christians in the ring. Let's get it done. Because
they're the ones.
Yeah. MPG and
big.
VK2 are going to be a big focus going forward. Let's get them in the ring. Let's get it done.
So, obviously, we talked about during our evaluations that you stripped the tag team titles and fired somebody.
Yes.
How shoot was that like? Because you don't normally see the shoot ones on camera.
I think because it was Hebrew Hammer and Hazard that were the tag team champions in 2003 going into 2004. The whole point was to strip the titles because I knew that Hebrew Hammer was not going to be returning to XCW. Hebrew Hammer ended up going on to debut for JCW, Juggalo Championship Wrestling, under Insane Clown Posse. So I knew, he was going pro. He was going to do that. He wouldn't be returning to XCW at the time. And he went alongside The Unknown, which was a part of our 2003 season too. So both of those guys were going on to greener pastures. They're going to be doing this professionally. And so the only way to get Hazard out of this title position where he's tagged with Hebrew Hammer is to publicly fire Hebrew Hammer like he did something wrong. It was the death of Hebrew Hammer anyway. Obviously, he wasn't going to go on performing under that name on a grander scale. So it was the firing to ruin him on purpose so that he could go on to do new things. The stripping part was so that Hazard could come back next show and lay into me about how he's found a new partner and he's going to continue under the name of Blackout Inc. And so that's part of things to come. But yeah, Hebrew Hammer, it wasn't a shoot at all. It was a way to protect our title and a way to protect him going forward for his new venture.
Really hit the nail on the head on that one. Did Jones get in trouble for taking his ass out?
No, actually, I thought it was fucking hilarious. There's
Of course you did.
There's another thing about this match, and I don't know if you guys caught it, and if you guys go back to our channel and you watch this match.
You getting distracted a lot?
No. I catch everything on accident.
I kind of noticed that. I was like,
okay, the spot where Chris shows his ass, he's fighting with me, throwing shit at me, and I dump the whole bucket of water on him. When you see me throw it, it bounces off his head and I catch it. Total accident. There's a spot where they're coming in, they have the clipboard. I think there's like a cookie sheet under Cynical's foot. The cookie sheet flies off the trampoline and I catch it.
Oh, wow.
And this happens 3 or 4 times during the match. I think there's even a shot towards the end where they use the white clipboard. It flips and bounces out, catches on the outside of the ring, and I drop it.
Yeah, I remember that.
It happened so many times. It was so bizarre. But I don't know, for whatever reason it happened, and I kept catching everything. And I'm not a hand-eye coordinate guy, and I don't. It was weird as hell.
Speaking of catching everything, you caught a ref bump in here. And it's a no DQ match. Why was a ref bump in there?
I think this was just more of Chris Jones torturing me because we didn't have the fine line of referees and wrestlers at the time. Okay. So I was still Fletch as a referee, and we were starting to tease more of the MPG and VK2 thing. Chris was going to be a part of that. So I think he just did it to torture me through the match. The funniest part is that I'm also on commentary, so I'm laying outside the ring bumped commentating the match.
Yes.
So-
I noticed. I was like, oh man.
Very EBW-esque.
Yes.
So that was one of my next questions. As you still being the referee, why did you let that match go as long as it did? Because it did feel drawn out at the end. Even if you were enjoying everything, towards the end they were just no-selling each other, and it felt drawn out.
For show length. When you're looking at what was originally a 5 to 6 match card, and now you're cut down to 3, and you don't have the featured matches that you have. You know, when you don't have DTC and Cardassia, you don't have myself and Cyrus, and you don't have Lucifer and Psychor now on the card, and you're cutting it down, you have to make your time. And so obviously you always give more time to whatever your main event, whatever you're featuring in that show. You want to have the long ball anyway, but when you're trying to come up with time, when you've lost 2 matches on a card, now you only have 3 to feature.
Yeah.
You've got to come up with your time somewhere. The 2 other matches went very short because they're not story driven.
Yeah.
Psychor was supposed to come in, hit his combination punches, a psych out, and maybe one other thing, and get the fuck out of Dodge. Then you have DTC and Cyrus for no fucking reason at all. Yeah. Other than to give both of them work on the card. And Cyrus was on his way out, and we knew that. He had come to us before this. You know, he had been in XCW almost a year at this point. It kind of was on the back burner of what was going on with his life. And so we knew that Cyrus was on his way out of the company, and there was no reason to push him any further than we needed to. So ultimately, both of those matches didn't end up in a position that we needed them to be. And so we had to give time. We didn't want a 20-minute show, and so we went with the long haul and the main event. Plus, they were the feature. So.
Alrighty. Well, Festus, what did you give this show in its overall show rating?
I say 2-star.
2-star? That's fair.
And,
It's a shorter show.
By virtue of what it is. But I will say, the thing I learned, and it's not so much learned, but just realized that even from the Inception, but this third show, is that you will roll with the punches. No matter what. I've seen that in my 5 years here. Is that guy called out? Okay, we gotta rework this.
And that's what we reworked it. And I was also in a position where are we going to further our storyline and be in jeopardy of being in the ring on a trampoline, that's why I also gave an option, and that's why we moved the pivot. Because I wasn't going to, if someone wasn't comfortable being in the position that they were on, being in a wet trampoline, I was not going to force it. Yeah. And so that's where we ended up.
Yeah. I still put together a serviceable
classic show.
A serviceable show. And and it's memorable because
I gave it a solid 1-star. I mean, it's raining and trampoline, and I hate trampoline wrestling as it is. It got a 1-star because it still had some measure of actual storytelling and show building to it, and the matches that we did get weren't awful. What do you give it as far as show wise?
To me, it's a 3.5 easy, and that's because Psychor debuted. He was in it for the long haul. He becomes a very big deal after this.
Oh yeah.
The things that DTC was doing, the shooting star press, the frog splashes, really showed his skill level at that time. And I think that, really where it looked like the end of Chris and Cynical, I feel like this is the match where things really got kicked off for them. And I think in a situation where they were stuck having to take the ball and make something out of it, they did everything that they possibly could in that moment to do that.
Well, and I kind of agree with that. I do kind of agree with that.
I can see that.
So I got one more question for you. Last question before we get out of here for the night and let everybody enjoy the rest of their evenings. Why'd you call yourself the good guy?
Because when I come out to when I did peep shows, I would get booed. Simple as that.
Well, obviously we both know someone else that goes by that now. That it's just ironic, the timing frame and everything else. But
Fair enough.
Everyone steals from Fletch.
Anyway, I think it's time that we close it out for the evening. Obviously, we have more Inception coming for you in the future when we
much more.
when we cover the next show, which I believe is Over the Edge, right? Or is there one in between?
There's one more in between. May 21st.
May 21st.
Yep.
I lose track when you don't have names. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Festus and Fletch, thank you all so much for watching XCW Inception, and we'll see you all on the next episode.